Welcome to the lecture on malaria. Malaria is a disease caused by several species of protozoa called Plasmodium. Before we go into the life cycle of Plasmodium and how it infects humans, there are certain terms that we need to discuss. First, let's talk about sporozoites. Sporozoites are the infectious form of the protozoa. So it's going to be carried by the mosquitoes. It will be found only in mosquitoes and not in humans. It's also the vegetative stage, so this is the stage that it will grow and divide. There's the merozoites. The merozoites are found only in humans. They are the daughter cells that result for when sporozoites undergo a form of asexual reproduction called schizogony. Schizogony is when the DNA divides many times within the single cell, and then after several DNA divisions do the cells divide into smaller cells. So our cells, we undergo a round of DNA replication, then our cells divide immediately, but in schizogony there are many rounds of DNA replication before the cells divide into many smaller cells. These smaller cells are those merozoites. The next is the ring stage. So when these merozoites are inside the humans, they're going to infect red blood cells or erythrocytes. During that stage, while they're inside the red blood cells, this is called the ring stage. So they will grow, they will get larger inside, and they will go from merozoites to trophozoites. These trophozoites will escape, and then they will go and infect other red blood cells. We should also give you the term of host. Host is the living organism in which these parasites are going to live in. And so we have two types of hosts, the definitive host and the intermediate host. In this case, the definitive host is always the host in which the organism undergoes sexual reproduction. So for Plasmodium, the definitive host is going to be the mosquito. The other host is the intermediate host. This is the host in which the parasite can undergo division, but it won't be sexual division. It's going to be asexual division or reproduction. So in this case, when the Plasmodium is inside the human host, it will go many rounds of replication, but it will divide by asexual reproduction. Okay, so we're going to start out with this life cycle. We're going to start out with the sporozoites. So remember I told you that the sporozoites are the vegetative form that live in the mosquito. Okay, so here we have the sporozoites. They're going to grow sexually within the Anopheles. Here's the Anopheles mosquito right here, and so here's the sporozoites. They're undergoing sexual reproduction. There's a sporozoite right there, and he's going to invade the cells inside the mosquito and release these small sporozoites, which will go into the salivary glands. So all up to this point, it's in the hindgut of the mosquito. The sporozoites are going to migrate to the salivary glands. So when the mosquito takes a blood meal, some of these sporozoites are going to enter inside the host. So I have here that the infected mosquito will bite the human, and it will infect or inject the Plasmodium, the sporozoites, inside the bloodstream of the human cell. So here's some little blood vessels that surface the surface of the skin. Those sporozoites, when they enter the blood, this blood is going to go to the liver, because the liver filters the blood. They're going to look for these liver cells called hepatocytes. So at this point, this is known as the hepatic stage. These sporozoites will enter the hepatic cells, and they will undergo schizogony. That means that their DNA will go through several rounds of reproduction, and then they'll form smaller forms of these sporozoites, which are called merozoites, and eventually the hepatocytes are going to lyse, and they're going to release these merozoites inside the bloodstream. Some of these merozoites may infect neighboring hepatic cells, but the majority of them will go into the bloodstream. So here we go at this stage, right here. This is a stained cell, a stained smear of red blood cells. So this is a red blood cell right here. It's kind of colored purple. Here is a sporozoite as he was entering the host cell. And these are the merozoites that are undergoing schizogony, and they form these ring cells inside the blood. Okay, so we're going to get these merozoites. They're going to enter the red blood cells. They will undergo other rounds of asexual reproduction. They're going to make mature forms of trophozoites. And then here's the ring stage right here. They're going to undergo several rounds of reproduction, form many of these small protozoans called trophozoite stage. They're going to then divide by schizogony. Here they're going to lyse the red blood cells. And we can go through several rounds of this. So I have here, we'll release waste product. As this red blood cell is releasing these merozoites, the daughter cells of the trophozoites, they will also release some of the metabolic waste. So it's that waste that's kind of toxic to humans or to the host, and it's going to result into what we call the fever. So where's my mouse? There we go. Fever and chills. And that's going to be due to the waste product. We can go through several rounds of this. So as these merozoites grow, they can form the ring stage. They'll go back to trophozoites. So you can go through several rounds of this type of reproduction. However, some of these merozoites will form specialized cells, the gametocytes. Some of these gametocytes will be female form, and others will be in the male form. Let's go back to the slide because I want to mention one other point, is these gametocytes, as long as they stay circulating in the host cell, meaning the human's host, they will not form serve any purpose. They have to then enter back into the mosquito for the life cycle to continue. While in the host, the human host, it's these merozoites and trophozoites right here that are causing the signs and symptoms of malaria. They're causing anemia because a lot of the red blood cells are being destroyed. They cause a fever and chills because of the waste product. But it's these gametocytes that really have no harmful effect whatsoever. They have to leave the human host through another mosquito, taking a blood meal, and only when they actually enter the mosquito do they become important. So here's the mosquito. We'll follow, let's see if I can find my mouse. They're going to follow this direction. They will go back to the hindgut where the male and female gametocytes will join, and they will undergo the sexual reproduction to form more sporozoites. Again, all this happens in the hindgut. When the more sporozoites are formed, they will migrate back to the salivary glands and start the whole process all over again. So remember I told you what the definition of a definitive host was, and that of the intermediate host. So a definitive host is a host in which the parasite reaches maturity and it will reproduce sexually. So in this case, it's the mosquito. The intermediate host is the one that harbors the parasite. It's needed, but it's short term. The organism usually undergoes a asexual form of reproduction, and it's this form that is needed to complete the whole life cycle of the mosquito. This concludes the lecture, or the mini lecture on malaria. What I want you to get from this is that you can see that there is different life stages of the malaria parasite. You can compare that to the more simple type of protozoa, which do not have two different hosts but only have actually one host.